I'm not here to say which either one, but I am here to talk about the idea of dimensions because I want to finish that discussion a little bit. And the solar flares actually, I heard an interesting analogy using the third, fourth, and fifth, using that exact dichotomy, that it really could be that people are actually at different vibrations experiencing different things. But before we get there, let me back up to a couple of points that I wanted to make from last week following up. The first thing is that on this show, I talked about it a little while last week, and I sort of just wanted to clarify the thought because it is something that I'm really working on right now. And so it makes sense that it's showing up here on this show as well. This idea of this and no further, this and no further. So really working on boundaries, really working on, like, for example, I feel like a lot of my life I've been very quiet. I haven't wanted to discuss concepts or things that go on in my head. There's been a huge difference between what I'm able to speak about with the people around me versus what I'm actually thinking about, reading about, researching, conceptualizing. Now, many of those concepts went out in my music because it felt safe and to do it that way, for me. But the world has changed a lot, right? And I listened to a lot of people who talk about these things. And so it started becoming clear, like maybe I'm holding back too much. So that's the exact line that I'm trying to learn to walk is how much to share versus how much to hold back. And I realize now it's a spiritual concept of discernment because I'm reading actually Proverbs a lot. I'm looking for I'm looking for wisdom, and that's really what we're talking about, because wisdom is the ability to know in any given situation exactly the right approach. And legalism, which is really where I've come from, I didn't know that that's what it was, but it's really black and white thinking, like in every scenario, do this, right? So it's a good idea to speak your truth. So in every scenario, speak your truth. I've come from that. It's ridiculous. People don't want to hear everything on your mind all the time. But somehow I thought I was doing a service, this was a long time ago, to just constantly speak my emotions. It wasn't so much about, you know, these theories and things. I learned very quickly that people didn't want to hear that. But I thought that being honest about my emotions would help other people to be honest about their emotions. But it was a legalistic idea. Like, it is good to share your emotions. So always share your emotions. This legalism idea is really black and white, and it's it's betraying the fact that human thought, human personality these days can, be a bit simplistic. And I think you also see it in ideas and concepts such as like Democrat versus Republican. Like when people cannot get out of that dichotomy, they cannot get out of thinking that it's this or it's that. I think it is a form of logic that people get stuck in because it's not. You're being really reinforced that in the education system to think that way. So you think, well, you figure out, well, this is good and this is bad, so always do this and never do this. But for example, when it comes to speaking up, there's times when you need to speak up for yourself and there's times when you need to hold your tongue. And which one is which? Every situation dictates that you need to be present and discerning. And that's much harder than this legalistic view. That also many people who are religious, right? That religious spirit comes from that too. Like, I'm doing this, so everybody should do this. I think it's bad to do this, so nobody should do this. All of that is that sort of legalistic view, and life is just way more complicated and difficult than that. And so in reality, having wisdom is having discernment, and that's part of what I'm doing here on this show. I am being honest with the fact that I am not saying everything on my mind. And I know that that's appealing these days. I know there's many people on YouTube that are, having great careers because they are willing to share everything. But that is not me. And I don't ever want that to be me. And I'm working very hard to walk the line and be obedient to spirit and saying this and no more. So share this and then no more, right? And it's much more difficult. It really is hard because you have to stay present, and it's so easy to all of a sudden get unconscious and go into a program and then say something or not say something, and then kind of when you're back in your body again, you're like, oh, why did I do that? So it can be painful, but that's part of what I'm doing here on this show, and I'm really walking that line. So I wanted to be honest about that because there's topics where I'm dipping my toe in, but I'm purposely not going there.